Hello students. So let's begin with the problems on it is proportion. So here is the first problem on it is proportion. That is problem number it is 1. Question is, if the cost of 15 kg of sugar is rupees 12, find the cost of 25 kg of sugar. This is the problem. Yeah. Question is, if the cost of 15 kg of sugar is 12 rupees, find the cost of 25 kg of sugar. So what we know here, we know 15 kg of sugar cost rupees, how much it is, 12, and they have asked to calculate what will be the cost of it is 25 kg of sugar. Means we have to find out the price of how many 25 kg of sugar. What is the cost of 25 kg of sugar? So like this, from the given problem, first like this you have to put the equation, right? First you have to understand what is asked and what is given. So here the number of kgs they have given and they have asked you to calculate what is the cost. So like this, from the given problem you have to put the equation and then you have to compare the number of kgs with the cost, and you have to see how these number of kgs are varying, changing, whether they are varying directly or inversely. Because to find out the cost of 25 kg of it is sugar, right? So first you have to check whether the number of kgs are in direct proportion or in inverse proportion, as we have seen in the previous video, right? So let's first calculate, or let's first put the equation, right? So how you have to put the equation here? For 15 kg of sugar, if 15 kg of sugar cost rupees 12, so I want what is the cost of 25 kg of sugar. What will be the cost of 25 kg of sugar? So what is the cost of 25 kg of sugar? It is not known. So what I will do, I will assume as x. Suppose 25 kg of sugar cost you x rupees. So like this, first you have to put the equation, and after putting the equation, now first what you have to check whether the number of kgs, whether they are in inverse proportion or in direct proportion. For that we have to compare number of kgs with the cost. So let's compare. So we know what 15 kg of sugar cost, 15 kg of sugar cost how much it is, 12 rupees. So if 15 kg of sugar cost 12 rupees, then 25 kg of sugar will cost you how much, more or less, that we have to see, right? So what will be the cost of 25 kg of sugar, more than 12 rupees or less than 12 rupees? So as the number of kgs increases, so definitely the cost also increases. So cost of 25 kg of sugar will be more only, more than 12 rupees. Means here what has happened, the number of kgs have increased from 15 kgs to 25 kgs, and due to increasing number of kgs my cost is also increasing. So when both are increasing or when both are decreasing, it is said to be what it is, direct proportion. Means here the number of kgs vary how it is, directly with the cost. So after checking that, below that here you have to write compulsorily, right? How they are varying, whether they are varying directly or inversely. So you have to write here the number of kgs are in direct proportion, right? Like this you have to write whether the number of kgs are in direct or inverse, and then you have to put the proportion. So now you have to put the proportion. So how you have to put the proportion? So we know here number of kgs are in direct proportion. So how you have to write the number of kgs? How you have to write the ratio of number of kgs? 15 is to 25. As it is you have to write. So it is written as it is 15 is to 25, as means what, is equal to the last ratio. Last ratio is what? It is of cost, so it is always written in direct proportion only. So it is written as what it is 12 is to what it is x. So this is called as the proportion. Now here out of these 4 terms, last term is missing, and to determine the last term, so we have to make use of the rule of proportion. What the rule says? In proportion, the product of extremes is equal to the product of means. So in proportion, last 2 terms are called as extremes and middle 2 terms are called as what it is? Means. So if you multiply these extremes on one side and means on another side, the multiplication comes to same. So multiply. So 15 into x. So 15 into x is equal to 25 into what it is? 12. Yeah. So what I want here, I want x value, bring x outside. Is transfer 15 equal to this side, multiplication becomes division. So x is equal to this 25 into 12 remains as it is, and transfer this to this side, it becomes division. So multiply and divide. So x is equal to, divide this. So 5 3s are 15, 5 5s are 25, 3 1s are is 3 4s are. So x is equal to 5 into 4, you will get how much it is? 20 rupees. Means what will be the cost of 25 kg of sugar here? 20 rupees. Clear? So this is how we have to solve the problems on what it is? Proportion. So this is a simple problem it is. So like sums also they are asking in the exam for how many marks? 2 marks in section A. Yeah. So I hope it is clear to you all. So here below that, here you have to write. Therefore the cost of 25 kg of sugar is rupees 20. Clear? So this is how we have to work out the problem on proportion. So I hope you have understood this problem, right? Or we will continue with the next problem. I will take the next problem on the proportion. Hello students. So here is my next problem on, it is proportion. So the problem is, if 10 men, right, if 10 men can do a piece of work in 35 days, so question is how long it will take for how many men? 25 men to do it. Yeah. So what they have asked here, how long will it take? How long means how many days it will take to do that work for how many men? 25 men. So here you have to find out the number of days. For how many days? For how many men it is? For 25 men. And what is given in the problem? We know for 10 men to do that work, it takes how many days? 35 days. So always remember, while putting the equation, whatever they give, that you have write at the first, and what is asked, that you have write at the end, last, right? So how you have to put the equation here? So that's why you must understand what is asked and what is given. So here number of men they have given, and they have asked you to calculate the number of days. So how equation you will have to put here? So the equation will be for how many men here? For 10 men. For 10 men, how many days are required? 35 days are required. So for 10 men, this is the given to us, right? For 10 men to do that work, how many days are required? 35 days are required. And they have asked you to calculate for how many men here? For 25 men. So for it is 25 men, how many days are required, that we have to calculate. Yeah. So like this, you have to put the equation from the given problem, and after putting the equation, now here for how many days are required for 25 men, it is not known. So let's assume how many days it is? X days. Let's assume X days be required. And now after putting the equation, now you have to compare the number of men with what it is number of days, and see whether the number of men are in direct proportion or in inverse proportion. So let's compare. So for 10 men, we know what? For 10 men to do that work, how many days are required? 35 days are required. So for 10 men, if 35 days are required, then how many days are required for 25 men? More or less, right? So for 10 men, if 35 days are required, so definitely for 25 men, how many days it will take? Less days it will take. Because as the number of men to do the work increases, number of days required to do the work decreases. Because if you employ more men, to do that work, definitely they will complete the work in less number of days, right? You can't say more days are required here. So by employing more men, if they are taking more days to complete their work, more days means if they are taking 35 or more than 35 days, so better not to employ 25 men, then better to employ how many days, how many men? 10 men, because 10 men can only do that work in how many days? 35 days. And if 25 men, if they are taking 35 days or more than 35 days, so there is no meaning in employing 25 men to do that work. So better to employ how many days? 10 men. So as the number of men increases, the number of days required to do the work decreases. So what you can see here, if you observe this carefully, here the number of men have increased from 10 to 25, and due to increase in number of men, the number of days required are decreasing. So one is increasing, another one is decreasing. So when one is increasing, another one is decreasing, or when one is decreasing, another one is increasing. So it is said to be which proportion? Inverse proportion. And when the proportion is inverse, so how we have to put the ratio, or how we have to write the ratio? It is written opposite. Instead of writing 10 is to 25, we have to write 25 is to 10. Yeah. So before putting the proportion, so first you have to write whether the number of men are in direct or inverse. So here number of men are in inverse proportion. So here compulsorily you have to write here the number of men are in inverse proportion, and after writing, then you have to put the proportion. Now number of men are in inverse, so instead of writing 10 is to 25, I said you have to write 25 is to 10, because it is inverse, you have to write opposite ratio. So 25, the number ratio of men will be written as 25 is to 10. So it is 25 is to it is 10 as equal to, you have to write this ratio, and this ratio, number of days ratio you have to write, and this ratio, last ratio is always written in which proportion? Direct proportion only. So it is written as 35 is to x. 35 is to it is what? X. And to determine the last term, so we have to use that rule. What the rule says? In proportion, the product of extremes is equal to the product of means. So now you have to multiply extremes on one side and means on another side. So multiply. So 25 into x. So 25 into x is equal to, it is 10 into what? It is 35. So now I want x value, bring this x outside. So x is equal to, it is 10 into it is 35 divided by what? It is 25. So x is equal to, so divide this. So 5 5s are 5, 7s are 5 1s are, it is 5 2s are. So 2 into 7, you will get how many days? It is 14 days. So to do that work for 25 men, how many days are required? 14 days are required. So if 10 men can do that work in 35 days, so in place of 10 men, if you put 25 men to do that work, how many days are required? 14 days are required. Yeah. So I hope this is clear. The previous problem was direct and this problem is inverse. I mean, this is how you have to realize whether that proportion is inverse or direct, and how to put the proportion, or how to write the ratio, how to put the proportion, and how to simplify for it. Simplification is easy here, no problem. But realization whether that realization of that ratio, whether it is in direct or inverse, that is very important. So if you fail here, right, in realizing correctly whether that ratio involves direct or inverse, then the whole sum will go wrong and you will not get any marks. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you all. Or we will continue with the next problem. So here is the next problem. Problem number 3 is, so I read out the problem. So traveling at a speed of 35 miles per hour, a distance can be covered in how many? In 2 hours. Question is, how long will it take to cover the same distance at 30 miles per hour? Yeah. If the speed, if you are traveling at a speed of 35 miles per hour, there is a distance to be covered, and to cover that distance, you are traveling at a speed of 35 miles per hour. Means in 1 hour, you can cover how much? It is 35 miles. So to cover that distance, if you are traveling at a speed of 35 miles per hour, so how many hours are required? 2 hours are required. And question is, Now instead of traveling at a speed of 35 miles per hour, if you are traveling at a speed of at least 30 miles per hour, so how many hours it will take? Question is how long will it take? How long will it take means how many hours it will take to cover the same distance if you are traveling at a speed of 30 miles per hour. Clear? So here what you have to find? Here you have to find out the time required. What is the time required to cover the same distance if your speed is 30 miles per hour? If your speed is 35 miles per hour, you can cover the distance in how many hours? 2 hours. But if your speed is 30 miles per hour, so to cover the same distance, what is the time required? This is the question. So here time is asked and speed is given. So how equation you have to put? So equation is when speed is 35 miles per hour, right? To cover the distance, how many hours are required? 2 hours are required. If when your speed is 35 miles per hour, to cover the distance 2 hours are required. Question is I want to calculate when your speed is 30 miles per hour, what is the time required? So this is how you have to put the equation. So whatever ratio is given, that you have to write at the beginning, and whatever is asked, that you have to write at the end. Yeah. And now as it is, we have to compare the speed with what it is asked and see whether they are in direct proportion or in inverse proportion. So let's compare. So when your speed is 35 miles per hour, if you are traveling at a speed of 35 miles per hour, to cover that distance, it takes how many hours? 2 hours. Now instead of traveling at a speed of 35 miles per hour, if you are traveling at a speed of 30 miles per hour, so how many hours it will take? What time it will take? Whether it will take more than 2 hours or less than 2 hours. So how much time it will take? Definitely it will take more time, because your speed is less now, right? Instead of traveling at a speed of 35 miles per hour, if you are traveling at a speed of 30 miles per hour, you have reduced your speed. So if your speed is very low, so to cover the same distance, definitely it will take more time. So here the time required will be more than 2 hours. Means your time required is increasing. Why? Due to decrease in speed. So as my speed decreases, the time required to cover the distance increases. So here one is decreasing, another one is increasing. Alright, here speed has decreased and time required is increasing. So when one is decreasing and another one is increasing, so it is said to be which proportion? Inverse proportion. And when the proportion is inverse, how you have to put the proportion, or how you have to write the ratio of speed? It is written as 30:35. Clear? So let's put the proportion. So before that, you write that here the speed is in inverse proportion. And now you write the ratio of speed. So it is inverse, so you have to write 30:35. 30:35 as it is written as, so you can assume here how many x hours, right? X hours be required. So the ratio of hours will be is 2 is to what it is x. And now by using the rule of proportion, you have to find the value of x. What the rule says? In proportion, the product of extremes is equal to the product of means, and multiply extremes on one side and means on another side. So my extremes are, it is 30 into x is equal to my means are, it is 35 into what it is 2. Or I want x value, bring x outside. X is equal to is 35 into 2 divided by what it is 30, or x is equal to divide this. So 2 ones are 2 ones are 2 5s are, or it is 5 3s are 5 7s are, or 3 ones are 3 2s are, it is 6 1 balance is 1 3 3s are 3 3s are. So it comes a degree. So it comes to approximately 2.33 hours. Means if you are traveling at a speed of 30 miles per hour, to cover the same distance, it takes approximately 2.33 hours. So you can observe here, if your speed is more, you can cover that distance in 2 hours. But if your speed is less, so definitely it will take more time. So to cover the same distance, if you are traveling at a speed of 30 miles per hour, so it takes 2.33 hours. Clear? So this is how you have to present the problem on what it is proposed. Or we'll have the one more problem on this proportion. So here is the next problem on what is proportion. Problem number 4 it is. I'll read out the problem again. A bookshelf contains 240 books, each of thickness 1 inch. Question is find the number of 3/4 inch thick books it can hold. Yeah. So here there is a bookshelf, there is a book cupboard, right? And in that book cupboard we can keep how many books? We can keep 240 books. That cupboard can hold, right? That cupboard can hold how many books? 240 books if the thickness of each book is 1 inch. Question is find the number of 3/4 inch thick books it can hold. Means if the thickness of each book is 3/4 inch, so how many books we can keep in this cupboard, right, or in this bookshelf that they have asked. Clear? So what they have asked you to calculate here, they have asked you to calculate the number of books, and here they have given you the size of the book, right, 1 inch and 3/4 inch. If the size of each book is 1 inch, so we can keep 240 books. So instead of 1 inch, if the thickness of each book is 3/4 inch, how many books we can keep in the bookshelf? So that we have to find. So here number of books we have to find here. So accordingly you have to put the equation. So how equation you have to put here for when thickness is 1 inch, when thickness is 1 inch, how many books it can hold? It can hold 240 books. Can hold 240 books. Question is when thickness is 3/4 inch, how many books it can hold? How many books we can keep in that bookshelf, that we have to find. Yeah. So like this you have to put the equation. So how many books it can hold, it is not known. So let's assume it is how many books? X books can be hold. So now first, as it is, you have to compare the ratio of thickness with what it is number of books. So if the thickness of each book is 1 inch, how many books we can keep in that bookshelf? 240. Now instead of thickness of 1 inch, if the thickness of each book is 3/4, so 3/4 is less than 1 inch. If you want to know, you can divide this and see 3 if you divide by 4 you get 0.75. So 0.75 is less than 1, right? So when the thickness like this, you will not come to know, right? 3/4 means how much it is. So you roughly divide and you see whether this 3/4 is more than 1 or less than 1. So 3/4 is less than 1 means if the thickness of each book is less, right? So how many books it will hold? More or less. So definitely it will hold more books if the thickness is less. If the thickness of each book is more, so we cannot keep more books. We can keep only less number of books in that bookshelf. But if the thickness of each book, if the thickness of the book is very less, so definitely we can keep more and more books in that bookshelf. Now here the thickness has decreased. 3/4 is less than 1, right? So as the thickness of the book decreases, so number of books that it can hold increases. Definitely we can keep more number of books. So here the ratio of thickness has decreased from 1 inch to 3/4, and due to that number of books that it can hold is increasing. So one is decreasing, another one is increasing. That means the ratio of thickness is in what it is? Inverse proportion. Yeah. So first you write that here the ratio of thickness is in inverse proportion. and then accordingly you put the proportion. So ratio of thickness is in inverse. Inverse means you have write opposite. 3/4 is to 1. So write 3/4 is to it is 1 as you have right. Last ratio always written in direct proportion, that is as 240 is to what it is x. And to find the value of it is x, now you have to use the rule of proportion. What the rule says? In proportion, the product of extremes is equal to the product of means. And multiply extremes on one side and means on another side. So my extremes are it is 3/4 into x equals to my means are it is 1 into what it is 240. So I want x value, bring x outside. So x is equal to this 1 into 240 remains as it is. And transfer 3/4 to this side. If you transfer 3/4 to this side, so 3/4 becomes what? It is 4/3, it becomes opposite. Means division becomes multiplication, multiplication becomes division. This is multiplied by what it is 4 and is divided by what it is 3. So 3/4 becomes it is 4/3. And simplify this. So it is x is equal to, so divide, so 3 1s are 3 8s are 24, or 80 into 4 you will get how much it is 220 books. So how many books the bookshelf can hold? It is 320 books. So we can keep 320 books in that bookshelf if the thickness of each book is 3/4 inch. So as the thickness of the book decreases, so definitely it can hold more number of books. Clear? So I hope these problems are clear to you all on this proportion. So this is the basic, remember. These are the very simple problems which can be asked in the exam for how many marks I said? For 2 marks in section A. So this is the basics. So by remembering this basics, so you should try to solve the problems, right? Some advanced problems, right? So like sums will come in the exam for this 5 marks, 7 marks or 8 marks. So that will continue in the next video, right?